The Denver Nuggets have made a sneaky good signing as Denver brings in an elite sharpshooter to their team that is very underrated, as now the Nuggets continue to build up on a bench and a depth unit that is absolutely terrifying for opposing teams, as we have multiple updates, including one surrounding Nikola Jokic. There's a lot to go over on the Nuggets right now, and we're going to waste no time jumping into it. So guys, what's up? Welcome back to Nuggets Digest. And before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe if you're part of that 76.6% that's not currently subscribed to Nuggets Digest. The NBA season is right around the corner, and I cannot wait. And with that being said, that means Nuggets basketball is about to come back in one of the highest expectation seasons we've seen in a long time. With all that in mind, things are going to get interesting, but let's jump into the video, because the Nuggets today, we saw Ben Tenzer and the front office continue to add more talent to this team throughout the offseason. We saw the bench unit really be the focus. Yeah, obviously there was the trade that sent Michael Porter Jr. to the Brooklyn Nets, a deal that felt perfect for Denver because, I mean, effectively they get Cameron Johnson, who's a more efficient shooter than MPJ. No shade towards MPJ. And on top of that, what we also see is that they freed up enough money to really be able to go out there and make some key bench moves, and that has really helped the Nuggets' chances. I mean, that was the big thing against the Thunder, was really the lack of a bench unit was starting to kill, because the Nuggets had to play their starters so many heavy minutes. On top of that, obviously Aaron Gordon hurting his hamstring was a huge issue as well. Obviously that game would have been a lot different had Gordon's hamstring been all right, but at the same time, it was a blowout loss. Could have still been a blowout loss, but probably just to a lesser degree, because having Gordon there, we all know the difference that he makes on the court. He is the Nuggets' second best player, so that is something that, or I kind of think he is. I know a lot of people will say Jamal Murray, and that makes sense, but I think Aaron Gordon's effectiveness to winning games is just so important. You can debate that in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, but just talking about the Nuggets and the recent move they've made, they've now brought in an elite under-the-radar shooter who nobody has been talking about this offseason, and I absolutely love this move for Denver, as free agent guard Javonte McCoy has agreed to a deal with the Denver Nuggets, according to Chris Haynes. Now, it was mentioned by Sports Illustrated that McCoy was a 5-year player for Boston University in the Patriot League, climbing from 8.9 points per game as a freshman to 17.4 points per game during his 5th year senior season due to a COVID year. A streaky shooter, McCoy shot 43.5% from beyond the arc as a freshman, but shot below 32% across the 2019-20 and 2020-2021 seasons. Obviously, that is a cause for concern, don't get me wrong, and as Sports Illustrated continued to mention, I don't know why it's not quoted here, there's an issue with the graphic, but we'll get that fixed by next video. McCoy is set to turn 28 years old during his midseason, but that doesn't mean his chances of making the NBA are long gone. If he could play like he did with the South Bay Lakers in the 2022-23 season, he can position himself for a two-way contract down the line. But with a loaded guard rotation in Denver, the Nuggets might not be where he finds long-term success. However, also there's a chance they do. Injuries happen, and with that, the Nuggets got some excellent depth. I mean, when we look at McCoy's numbers, yeah, look, he shot 43% from 3 in his freshman season, where he did play a good amount, don't get me wrong, but it also was his lowest minutes per game outside of the 2020-2021 season, where he only appeared in 16 games after all, which was a big thing there. He played more minutes per game than freshman year, but at the end of the day, only playing half the games obviously meant less minutes. And yeah, in 2021, from 2019 to 2021, he didn't shoot the 3-ball well whatsoever, but the other 3 years he did, and he finished off with an excellent 3-point shooting season, shooting 42.5% on the 3-ball while putting up 17.4 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists a night. So we saw McCoy get the shooting back. We saw him really go out there and still be able to perform at an excellent level. And the good sign is that was the most threes he ever took in a single season, was when he shot his best from 3. And also we saw just years prior when he took 140 threes, the only other time he amassed 140 threes attempted in a season, he shot well also, shooting 38.6%. So McCoy is an excellent shooter who's bounced around, played in Summer League for a bit with the Lakers, with the Spurs, with the Pistons. He bounced around, and he didn't shoot too well from behind the arc, which was a bit scary, but after a year that he just sort of had a bit of a downturn. It also is Summer League, where if you have 1 or 2 bad games, all of a sudden the sirens are going to come out, you're going to get waived, because at the end of the day, you're basically set up for just not being able to truly succeed in those types of situations. Now, we also saw him play in the G League for a bit. We're going to make that bigger, actually. And he played well. Like, he's played very good G League basketball. And this is what I mean that he's an elite shooter. Last year in the G League, across 18 games, he put up 13 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and shot 45% from 3. Also had his best free throw percentage, which shows a clear clear improvement on shooting, meaning this is a lights out shooter that Denver has now brought onto their team, at least for training camp, and he will be with the Nuggets in the G League as well, which is also important to consider. So when we consider everything about McCoy, he is an excellent fit for this Nuggets team, one that I really like. And when we look at this depth chart, what we see is a unit that's going to be very interesting heading into the next season, because they're deep. This is the first time the Nuggets are deep in a little bit. And I mean, the thing is, there's not a ton of guard play here. I mean, I'm not saying it's desolate guard play at all. Like, I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. can be a 2 at any point, and Julian Straw, there's a nice wing, but there's not really another true point guard outside of Jamal Murray here. Yeah, Bruce Brown can play the position, especially if Jokic is on the floor with him. It's fine. It's not really going to be something that's a big concern. But at the end of the day, we know there's only one true point guard on this team in Jamal Murray. So bring in McCoy, someone who they have listed as a shooting guard here, but he really is more of a point guard. He's a shooter first, which is why he's listed as shooting guard. But there's only so much to consider, and with Tamar Bates, with Curtis Jones both dealing with injuries, McCoy has a real chance to come in here and swoop a spot away where he'll be on the Nuggets. That's the thing that we're not considering here, that Curtis Jones and Spencer Jones are just going to be dealing with some injuries right now, and that's going to have an impact on things. So when we think of all that, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next for Javonte McCoy and for this Nuggets team. Now, on top of that, we also do have something else to discuss when it comes to the Nuggets, because as we know, there's always going to be player rankings and stuff is always going to come out, and none other than this guy shines brightest when it comes down to it in basketball. Nikola Jokic has shown that he's one of the best centers in NBA history, and he's not done with his NBA career whatsoever. There's been a lot of reports surrounding Jokic and what's next for his career, and we recently did see a report that Jokic has not even shown any signs of intending to leave the Denver Nuggets. That is absolutely phenomenal news, because recently that was a bit of a discussion, but we've seen on Twitter now that he has no plans of leaving Denver. Jokic wants to be with the Nuggets for his entire career. That is an excellent sign after seeing some reports on trades. And on top of that, we also saw that Jokic did get the #1 spot when it comes to the rankings this year on ESPN. That should have been the case, and I'm happy that he did get it. And it was mentioned that when it asked who the best player on the planet was right now by a bunch of ESPN analysts, 19 of them said Jokic, and one of them said Luka Doncic. And it was mentioned by ESPN, while there has been a nip and tuck battle for MVP between Jokic and Shea over the past few seasons, and our survey projects that there will be little to debate on who is the single best player in the NBA at the moment, that would be Jokic. The Thunder star and reigning MVP didn't receive any votes, and only one strayed away for Luka Doncic that separated Jokic from being the first unanimous selection for this honor across 7 years that survey had been going on. So when we consider that, it really does show just how dominant Jokic is and how he probably should have won the MVP last year. Not that it matters anymore, but it is just something on top of everything else. And it was also mentioned by ESPN, for just about every voter, there was little hesitation to pick Jokic before moving on to the next question. And more to his remarkable run than a slight to Shea for anyone else, really. It's nothing to do with Shea. It has everything to do with Jokic. And it was mentioned by one of the East executives who said that as long as he's walking and breathing, it should be him. He should be known as the best. So that's a big mention. And I mean, at the end of the day, Jokic is the best player on the planet. We all know that. But just a nice update to finish this video off on. Guys, what do you think about this signing of Javonte McCoy? Do you think that there's any debate that Jokic is the best player in the NBA? Do you think there's any chance that he goes anywhere? I'm going to say that no to both those questions, but I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I'll catch you later.